This is Michael Wilson. We're looking at letting our riches deceive us or distract us from what really matters. Let's do it. In this world, there are many people who have a lot of money and possessions. We live in a very wealthy society. Some have a lot, some have very little, but those who have a lot may think that they are better than others, or that they can rely on their wealth for happiness and security. But the Bible warns us not to be proud or to trust in uncertain things, but to trust in God, who gives us everything we need and more. God wants us to enjoy his gifts, but he also wants us to use them for his glory and for the good of others. He wants us to be rich in good deeds, not just in money. He wants us to share what we have with those who are in need and not to hoard it for ourselves. He wants us to store up treasures in heaven, not on earth. He wants us to live for the eternal and not for the temporal. He wants us to grasp the true meaning of life, which is found in him alone. So here's the plan. Go after God. Do good every day. Be rich in helping others. Be extravagantly generous. Now that's a mighty good plan. So what did Paul say to Timothy? He said, as for the rich in this present age, charge them not to be haughty, not to set their hopes on the uncertainty of riches, but to set them on God, who richly provides us with everything to enjoy. Now, this is the message that Paul gave to Timothy, who was a young pastor ministering to a church in a very wealthy city. Paul knew that some Christians were tempted by the love of money and the desire for more. He knew that this could lead them astray from the faith and cause them to miss out on God's best plan for them. So the message is still relevant for us today, especially in a culture that values materialism and consumerism. We need to remember that our true wealth is not measured by what we have, but by what we give. Let us heed Paul's word and follow his example. Let us be humble and grateful for what God has given us. Let us be faithful and obedient to what God has entrusted us. Let us be generous and cheerful with what God has enabled us to give. Let us be rich towards God and towards others, and thus lay up for ourselves treasures in heaven. So do you have a lot of money and possessions in this world? If so, you might be tempted to think that you are better than others, or that your wealth can secure your happiness. But enjoying God's gift does not mean hoarding them for ourselves. It means using them to bless others and to advocate for his kingdom. God calls us to be generous and willing to share with those in need, to be rich in charitable deeds and not just in money. So do not let your riches deceive you or distract you from what really matters. Use them wisely and generously as tools for God's glory and not idols for your own. Remember that you are not the owner of your wealth, but the steward of God's grace. And so seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. And that is what our Master Jesus said, and that's some mighty good news, brothers and sisters.